In the heart of a lush African landscape, surrounded by rolling hills and whispering winds, stood the peaceful village of Ndemu. Life there followed a rhythm passed down from ancestors. Early mornings at the river, afternoons in the fields, and evenings filled with the crackle of firewood and the sound of folk songs floating under starlit skies. Among the villagers lived a man named Chief Jabari, one of the wealthiest and most respected yam farmers in the region. A strong, thoughtful man with streaks of silver in his beard and a voice that carried the weight of wisdom. He was not just admired but revered. His compound was large, his lands vast, and his 2 wives, well, they were the talk of Ndemu. The first wife, Amina, had married Jabari when they were both young. She was gentle and graceful, with a soothing presence that calmed even the most restless child. She was the mother of Jabari's first son, Obi, a bright, curious boy studying in the city. Amina was loved not just by her husband but by nearly everyone in the village. The second wife, Nyasha, came many years later. Younger, strikingly beautiful and quick with her words, she entered the marriage with confidence and ambition. Though she smiled often, there was always something calculating behind her eyes. While Amina spent her days in the garden and with the children, Nyasha focused on dressing well, being seen, and whispering her way into influence. The compound, though large, felt tight with tension. The women rarely quarreled openly, but their rivalry simmered beneath every polite greeting and forced smile. Nyasha couldn't understand how Amina, with her soft-spoken nature and old-fashioned ways, had earned so much respect, and the fact that Amina's son, Obi, was seen as the future heir to Jabari's wealth, well, that gnawed at her daily. One late afternoon, as the sun dipped low and cast long shadows across the earth, Nyasha overheard a group of elders discussing Jabari's plans for the future. "Amina's boy will make a fine leader," one said. "He'll inherit everything," said another. "It's only right. He's the first son." Nyasha's fists clenched around the basket she carried. That evening, while she ground millet for dinner, her thoughts raced. Why should her son inherit all? What's about me? What's about my future child? I've worked just as hard. I deserve more than second place. That night, Nyasha sat alone in her hut, the flames of her cooking fire dancing in her eyes. A decision was forming, slow and sinister. She would not wait around to be pushed aside. If Amina were no longer in the picture, everything would change. Days passed, and Nyasha played her part well. She smiled more. She offered to help Amina with chores. She even began preparing meals. The entire village murmured about the change in her behavior. "Perhaps motherhood has softened her," one villager said. "Maybe she's finally found peace," another added. One moonless night, Nyasha crept out of the compound, her steps soft on the earth. She made her way to the edge of the village, where a crooked hut leaned under the weight of dried herbs. This was the home of Papa Uzezi, the old herbalist who knew more about roots and potions than anyone alive. Nyasha knocked. A crackling voice called from inside. "Who disturbs me at this hour?" "I need something for a cough," Nyasha said, stepping into the dimly lit hut. "Something strong." Papa Uzezi studied her for a moment. "Strong enough to cure or strong enough to kill?" Nyasha forced a laugh. "Don't be dramatic, Papa, just strong, that's all." Papa Uzezi handed her a small pouch filled with dried herbs. "Use sparingly," he warned. "Too much can be dangerous." The next morning was clear and warm. Nyasha rose early, singing softly as she stirred the porridge. Amina joined her, yawning. "You're up early," Amina said with a smile. "I just wanted to do something kind," Nyasha replied, her voice syrupy. As Amina took her bowl and thanked her co-wife, Nyasha watched closely. 1 bite, 2 bites. Amina laughed at something Nyasha said, completely unaware. But by midday the laughter turned to cries. Amina clutched her stomach, doubled over in pain. Jabari came running. Villagers surrounded her. The elders whispered and prayed, but nothing helped. Obi, her son, had not yet returned from the city. She called out for him, tears streaming down her face. "I forgive her," Amina whispered as her breathing slowed. "Tell Obi, I forgive." And just like that, the village lost its light. Her funeral was filled with sorrow. Women wailed, and men beat their chests in mourning. Nyasha wore the darkest cloth and cried louder than anyone. But even in mourning, her eyes gleamed with something else. Soon, Nyasha took charge of the household. She walked taller, gave orders, and dressed like royalty. She even began talking about naming her unborn child heir to Jabari's lands, but peace did not return. When Obi returned weeks later, now a young man of 14, he stood still as he entered the compound. It felt wrong. The air was heavy. His mother's corner was quiet, too quiet. Nyasha hugged him. "Your mother passed suddenly. It was fate. The gods called her." But Obi wasn't convinced. He visited Papa Uzizi, who blinked in shock when she saw him. "You're Amina's son," he said softly. "Yes," Obi replied. "Do you know what happened to her?" And slowly the old man told him everything, about the visit, the herbs, the warning, the lie. Obi's heart pounded, but his face remained calm. That evening he went to the village elders. The story came out piece by piece. The herbalist confirmed what she had given. Servants confessed what they saw. Even the earth beneath Nyasha seemed to accuse her. In front of the entire village, Jabari stood with his son by his side. "Nyasha," he said, voice heavy, "you have brought shame and death into my house."
"I only wanted what I deserved," Nyasha cried. "I was tired of living in Amina's shadow."
But her cries fell on deaf ears. The elders met. The decision was unanimous. Nyasha was banished from Enemu, never to return. She left with her head bowed, alone and forgotten, as the villagers turned their backs on her. Years passed and peace returned. Obi grew into a young leader, wise beyond his years, fair and strong, just like his mother. He never forgot Amina's words. He carried her forgiveness like a shield and her memory like a crown. And so the village healed. And the story of Nyasha. It became a warning told to every young wife under the stars. Jealousy can rot the heart, but love will always leave a legacy.